Ah, Japan, the land of ramens, fresh sushi, bullet trains, and other fine cultures. I went there a couple of weeks ago for a break from work, a break from YouTube, a break from life in general. I very much needed it after a hectic schedule of grinding between my day job, my YouTube channel, my other personal interests, and obligations of mine. Booked a flight about 2 months before my trip, and off I went. I've been to Japan about 3 times, where I would spend approximately 3,000 to 4,000 inclusive of the flight and hotel. However, for this trip, I went way over budget and spent about double of that. As much as I can brush it off as a simple occurrence of me going nuts on my expenditure with adult money, there's a very interesting insight that I was able to learn from it that I wouldn't have known if I had just stayed in Singapore, leading my budget-friendly, mundane life. I've always been a very frugal person. I'm not picky on food, and I would always buy the most basic and cheapest meal I can find whenever possible. If I went to eat fast food while my friends were choosing what food they want to eat, I would be browsing the value meal and simply choosing the cheapest one. However, I was very liberal in spending money on food when I was in Japan. I would simply choose what I want to eat, and looking at the price is at the corner of my mind. If I feel like having sushi, I don't care if it costs $100. I would just go in and think about the price later. That was me throughout the entire trip. And I'm not gonna lie, it feels dang good to not worry about money and enjoy life. But life isn't that easy because money doesn't drop from the sky. I worked and slaved myself for the past year just so I could splurge for 2 short weeks. This brings me back to one of the videos that I've posted quite a while back, where I talk about how most of us are only living for the weekends. Our time is precious, and we only have this amount of time on earth, but we spend a majority of that time, 5 days of the week, on a job that we hate, doing the things that we dislike, being with people that drains our energy and want nothing to do with after work, and only giving ourselves 2 short days of the week to truly enjoy our life. The worst part is if we let those 2 days fly by doing the things that doesn't truly matter to us, and at the end of it, we look at ourselves and be like, wow, what are we doing with our lives? As much as I would love to live my life, my whole life, every moment like I was in Japan, eating whatever I want, whenever I want, the truth is I'm not in the position to do that because I have yet to build myself up to achieve that. I have a dream to be successful in what I love to do, which in turn allows me to do more of the things that I want. But if I don't work on it, if I kept giving myself excuses that I'm tired, I'm hungry, the weather, this and that, whatever excuses I can think of, it's essentially me giving a vote to my future self that I don't really want it, but I do want that. And this trip is a good reminder of the things that are possible if I worked hard on my goals and dreams. And then there's this thing about indulging in your hobbies. In Japan, there's a ton of toys, and I mean tons of it. Unbeknownst to me, this trip got me hooked on 2 things that I would never have expected myself to get hooked on. First was Pokemon cards. I used to collect them when I was a kid. I never knew how to play the card game. I was just into collecting them. But somewhere along as I was growing up, it became a hobby of the past, and I thought it would stay that way. But being in an environment that has them everywhere, I was hooked back onto it. Watched a ton of videos during my free time while I was there, went to a ton of card shops, and bought a ton of cards that I have no idea what to do with them right now. The second thing that I got hooked on was something new to me, which are Tomica cars. They are basically small die-cast model cars, and I don't know what's with them, but these small cars are just so cute, cool, and most importantly, super cheap. I mean, just look at it. It costs just around $3 for one car, which is barely the price of a really cheap meal back in Singapore. I had so much fun looking at them, and of course, buying a bunch of them. And here's the thing, these are hobbies that past me would have stayed far away from because they shouldn't be things that we should waste our time on. You would see these YouTubers telling you to stay far away from video games, animes, and such hobbies that are thought to be kiddie. But come on, let's be real. Who cares about what others think? Life is too short to care about that. Do these hobbies make you happy? Then isn't that the most important and only thing that matters? No matter what it is, even if it's good hobbies like working out, moderation is key. If your hobbies isn't inhibiting you from achieving your other goals, these are things that are fine in allowing into your life. So add that spice here and there in your life to make it much more enjoyable. That's what makes life fun. So allow yourself to enjoy life and experience the little things. If you're asked, to eat potatoes and chicken breast every meal for just a week. I'm sure you would go nuts. With that, I've decided to let in some of these childhood hobbies of mine back into my life to add some spice and make life fun. What's the point of earning all these money if I've nowhere to spend it? And well, this adds on to another of my motivating factors to keep pushing hard on my goals, and one day, the result will allow me to indulge in more of them. If it gives me that, why not? I'm not sure about you, but every time after a long overseas trip, a break from my mundane and yet hectic life, I would always have these long moments of thought and reflection, of which wouldn't have been possible if I stayed in my comfortable zone in Singapore and not venture the outside world. If you are still young and have yet to go overseas, it should then be one of your goals once you are older. If you have been overseas before, then make it a point to go on a solo trip once you have the means to do it. This Japan trip of mine wasn't a solo trip, but it was in fact on my second Japan trip that I went alone, of which I had the most takeaways and eye-opening experience that I would always look back fondly even after many years later. If you have the financial means to do it, you have no excuses. But if you don't, make it a goal of yours to save enough and eventually do it. You can only learn so much about yourself by staying in your comfort zone. You have to get out there and see it with your own eyes. You'll be surprised at how much you don't know, both about yourself and the world.